Hello, welcome back to Cheese Kitchen. Today I'm excited to share with you a traditional North Vietnamese dish called bún riêu. Translate into English, it kind of means minced prawns and crab noodle soup. This dish you can find in restaurants, mostly restaurants that cater more to Northern Vietnamese cuisine. It's not as popular as like pho noodles, but you can still find it somewhere. But this is one of the dishes that I make for my family, and they love it. I make the simplified version. There are a lot of ingredients that go into it that might be a challenge for finding in American grocery stores, but if you go to Asian markets, you're going to be able to find them all. So the key is getting all the ingredients. The recipe, the actual making part is super easy. So let's go over what is it you will need. You're going to need half a pound of ground pork. This is actually a pound. You don't need this much. This is optional. Frozen snails. You actually only need half of this. So I got this at the Asian market as well. This is not required for this dish. So if you don't like snails, you can leave this out. I like it. I'm going to make this for the first time. Usually when I make it for my family, I don't add the snails, but I'm going to try something new. You also need rice noodles. And this is the kind you want. There's lots of different types of rice noodles. This is called vermicelli. Does it say vermicelli? Yes, it does. It says it's right here. And I like this brand. It's called Bun Thap Chua, which the brand is a Buddhist temple. But you can get any brand. It doesn't have to be this one. But make sure it does say vermicelli noodles, okay? Then you'll need some chicken broth. I have a big size here, but 2 cans of 14-ounce each works, okay? Chicken broth. 1 can of whole tomatoes. This is the specialty one. You gotta make sure you get the right kind. This is called minced prawn in spices. The Vietnamese name is gia vị nấu bún riêu. I'll bring it close so you can see. Of course, we need the basic salt. A yellow onion. This is kind of a secret ingredient. Not everybody makes this dish with this, but I think it adds a lot of flavor to it. And actually, I think it defines the dish, but this is optional. You don't have to include shrimp paste, but I use the fine shrimp paste kind. Here you go. Of course, you need some sugar. Some dried shrimp. The original packaging of dried shrimp looks like this. It comes in a plastic package like this, and you can get it in um, Asian market. Sometimes it's in the refrigerated section, sometimes it's just in the dried section, but it's called dried shrimp. Then we also need some eggs. We need 6 eggs. And in terms of equipment, we need a kind of like a big pot to be able to fit the soup in. Here's what I use. This pot right here. This is plenty to make this dish. And you do need one, which we're going to need to cook it. Cover. And last, you need some water. Okay. So what I'm going to do is start doing the preparation and start making the soup first, and then we'll make the noodles after. All right, let's get started. Okay, so let's prepare the meat egg mixture first. As you can see here, I've got half a pound of ground pork, 6 eggs, and my minced prawn mixture here. we're going to combine everything. Just want to show you what this looks like. So it's kind of a runny mixture like this. This is what defines the dish. So I'm just going to dump it into the meat, like so. And then I'm going to crack in the eggs in here. Whisk, you can do that. But personally, I don't think it works as well because we've got this chunky pork meat in here. And so I just like to use a fork. Kind of works with all of the ingredients together. So that's all I'm doing. I'm blending it in. All right. So do that for a few minutes until you see all of the meat clumps are gone and everything is just nicely blended. You are done blending when you see the mixture like this. See how there's no more clumps of meat left? It's just kind of this runny soup. Okay? That means you know it's done. So now we'll just set that aside and go on to the next step. Next, we're going to work with the shrimp. The shrimp are about this size here. They're not too big. Some depends on the size of your shrimp. Okay, so I'm going to maybe cut it down to half, so it's not so the chunks aren't so big. Now, dried shrimp does have a rather pungent smell, but don't worry, when it goes in with the soup, it's going to be delicious. Now that our shrimp is in little bite sizes, I'm going to set that aside. Now we're going to dice our onion. We're going to first peel the skin. So you're going to have to remove the skin. We don't want to eat that. And then we're going to chop up our onion into very small bit sizes. Now that our onion is peeled, we're going to dice it. First, I'm going to cut it in half. Then I'm going to cut some vertical cuts in here, like 3 of them. And then I'm going to hold it together and just cut this way. Okay, these chunks are rather large. We're going to need to cut them down some more. All right, we just finished dicing half an onion. Let's do the other half. As you can see, our onion is all chopped up small. We can just set that aside. And now we're going to cut up the snails. Okay, this again, we're only going to need half. We don't need this many. As you can see, they're quite large. So we will need to cut it down. If you've never eaten snails before, they're rather chewy. So I'm going to cut it down to more manageable, chewable size. So a piece this large, I'm just going to cut it in half, maybe quarter. Yeah, quarter is good. Like so. So this will be a good size. All right, so our snails are all cut up into smaller bites. We are ready to cook. All right, so I've got my cooking pot on the stove on medium heat. So I just wait to get the pot heated up. You do not need oil here. You can use oil, but I prefer not to because this is really a soup-based dish. So I'm just going to wait for it to heat up, and then I'm going to dump in the onions. The onions will naturally release vegetable oil anyway, so your pot will be lightly greased anyway. So no need to add extra vegetable oil. I think the pot is getting hot, so I'm going to just dump in the onions. Okay, and you could just push the onions around in your pot to get it to cook. You can hear the onion sizzling. You've already done the heavy lifting. Now it's just combining the ingredients together. This is the easy part. So you know the onion starts to cook when it starts to turn a little translucent, like a little clear, and it softens too. So just kind of look for that. I'm going to add the dried shrimp. Just kind of push it around, get it to cook a little bit more. Okay, the onion is starting to look soft and feel soft. Now it's time to add in our tomatoes. So I've opened the can of tomatoes right here. You want the juice as well as the whole tomato, so dump everything in. What I want to do is squish down all the tomatoes. They're whole tomatoes, so they're kind of chunky. I want to flatten everything. And you could use fresh tomatoes. You would need, several fresh tomatoes to get them to crush and give you juice. But I like to use canned tomatoes. They're quick and easy, and they already come with juice. Just be careful with this stage. Tomato juice tends to splatter quite a bit. If you ever made spaghetti before, they tend to just kind of like shoot out everywhere. So I can manage this by turning down my heat a little bit more. Turn it down low like that while I crush the tomatoes. All right, now it's time to add our salt. You don't need a lot of salt for this recipe because the can of minced prawns and spices already come with a lot of seasoning in it already. So we just need to season our tomatoes a little bit with salt, not too much. I'm going to add some sugar. I'm going to add the snails now. So we're just going to push everything around. Let all of the tomato juice and the onions and the shrimp kind of soak in with the flavors of the snails. I know the word snails kind of sound icky because you think of garden snail, those slugs that kind of slimy and creepy crawling around your garden. These are not the same snails. Those are not edible. These snails are more what you call escargot. The French eat this in buttered garlic butter, and it's simply delicious. So a nicer, fancy way of calling snail is escargot. So we'll call them escargot. Not freak anybody out just because snails, creepy crawling slugs. Just gonna let this simmer for a little bit. You don't need to cook the snail thoroughly because it already comes cooked in the package. Okay, so we're right here. We're just trying to get all of the flavors of the tomato and shrimp and onion to soak in to the escargot. We don't really need to cook it. We'll know to go to the next step when everything starts to boil, like bubble up. Speaking of that, it's already starting to bubble up right there. You can kind of see in that corner right there, right here. Okay, now I'm gonna add chicken broth. I'm gonna pour in a little bit into my tomato can to kind of get all of the tomato juice out. Don't waste any tomato juice. There we go. Now I'm just going to dump this in. What we're going to do is just going to let it cook, wait for it to boil. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add the shrimp paste before the soup boils. So I'm going to put some in a little bowl, mix it up with water to dilute it. I get to get just to get the paste texture into liquid form. So this is what shrimp paste looks like. I'm going to scoop out some. My family likes this shrimp paste, so I use a little bit more than what the recipe calls for. Some people don't use it at all. It's kind of up to you. But I think it defines the dish, so I use a lot because we like it. So what I do is add some water to this and then just kind of mix it to liquefy it. So right there you see I have some water and I'm just kind of squishing the paste down and mixing it with the water. As you can see, it's becoming less clumpy and becoming more liquid. This shrimp paste is salty by nature, so that's why I didn't have to use a lot of salt when I season the tomatoes, because this shrimp paste is going to bring in a lot of flavor and seasoning to the dish. Okay, just going to sprinkle some in and just kind of stir the pot to mix everything up really well. As you can see, there's a little bit of smoke rising in the pot. That means the water, the soup, is cooking. It's getting heated up. Now, this is a big pot. It's going to make a lot of bowls for your family. I like a little bit more water. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. What we want is we want the soup to be boiling, rapid boil hot. Because the next step is where we're going to dump in the meat mixture. Remember we were mixing the meat with the eggs and the minced prawn and crab. Yeah, that mixture has been sitting, waiting to be dumped into the soup. And we wanted the soup to be rapid boil, super hot. So when we dump in, it's going to start cooking faster. What you can do to get the soup to boil faster is cover it. But that means you're going to need to watch it because you leave it. The minute you leave it, it's going to boil over and you've got a big mess all over your stove and your kitchen. So you can't keep an eye on it. Don't walk away. It's happened to me many times. I've learned from my mistakes. So you can see it's boiling right there. See, I was there to watch it so it doesn't boil over. Okay, now we're going to dump in that egg mixture right here. What you'll notice is everything kind of sunk to the bottom. That's because everything's raw in there. When the meat and the egg and the prawns start to become cooked, they'll float up to the top. So I don't want to poke anything in it right now because I want that meat mixture to be clumped in one piece so that when we scoop it out and serve in the bowls, we'll have nice clumps of that shrimp and prawns and eggs all together. So that's why I don't want to poke at it. Just kind of let it sit. And it's okay to cover it too as long as you watch it so it doesn't boil over. Okay, as you can see, it's bubbling, boiling, rapid boil. And this is where you have to season it to taste. This is where I'm just going to spoon in a little bit of soup and taste it to see if it needs more salt or need more sugar or need more water. Okay, so let's take a look. So you can see that's what the soup looks like. Smells delicious. Spot on. I don't need to add anything. Just gonna let it cook some more. What happens is the bottom of the pot and the meat mixture, the bottom are probably well cooked. The top, maybe not so much. So I'm gonna close the lid and let it cook some more, but keep an eye on it. While that cooks, I'm gonna go get prepared to make the noodles to go with this dish. So remember the rice noodles? Okay, we're gonna need to boil some water and then cook these noodles in it. All right, so what I have here is a saucepan, and I've added some water in there. I'm going to heat it up. All right, so my saucepan is heating up the water. This is for me to make the noodles. So we want to wait till the water boils, and then what we'll do is we'll just dump the noodles in. I want to show you what dried noodles looks like uncooked. I'm not making a whole pack. This is more half a pack. This will probably make 2-3 bowls or so. Just want to show you what it looks like. So they're dry, just like spaghetti noodles. They're dry and hard. So when we put it into the water, it'll start to soften. It'll slowly sink into the water and it'll be cooking. I forgot to mention, you also need to have ready coriander, I think it's called, or strainer. Coriander, I think. So that when the rice noodles are cooked, you want to be able to dump the boiling water out into here, and it'll catch your noodles and the water will just fall right through. And then we'll use this to rinse cold water into your noodles to get it to stop cooking. Okay, as you can see, our water is boiling, and now I'm ready to drop in the noodles. The noodles will shrink as the hot water softens it. They'll shrink down into your pot. There we go. Right now it's still very hard, so we just let it cook. I'm gonna make it go faster by closing the lid, but I'm gonna keep a good eye on it. I'm not gonna walk away. You see how the water is boiling up? There we go. I'm gonna uncover before it boils over. And mix up the noodles a little bit. See if it's softening. It's starting to. Now I'm just gonna leave it uncovered. It's safer if you need to go run to the bathroom real quick. It's safer to leave it uncovered. I just want to show you the different stages that the noodles go through. Still very stiff. You can see the noodles stick out, very stiff still, very raw still. When they get droopy and soft, just like kind of spaghetti noodles, you will know it's better cooked. But here's the catch though. Just because it's droopy doesn't mean it's fully cooked through. Like if you try to pinch the noodle with your finger and you can't pinch through, or you try to take a little bite and it's so chewy you can't bite through the noodle, it's not cooked yet. So those are the little tests that you can do to see when the noodles are cooked through. So when you pinch it and it falls off, good. Or when you take a bite and you can easily chew it through, that means it's cooked. It should not be chewy or crunchy or hard. Let's test our noodles, see if it's ready yet. Okay, very droopy, good sign. Droopy and heavy. Okay, so I'm just gonna pick a noodle and see if I can pinch through it. Okay, I'm unable to see. I'm using my nail to pinch through it. It's not working. It's not cooked yet. I think our rice noodles are ready, so let's take a look. Okay, very droopy, good sign. I'm just gonna pick a strand and pinch it with my nail and see if it falls. See, it got cut with my nail. So that means it's cooked. So what we wanna do now is strain it out in this coriander. So I'm going to put this in my kitchen sink and then dump these noodles into it and run cold water in the noodles to stop the cooking process. All right, so I've strained in the noodles in cold water. They're ready to be plated. As you can see, I still have long strands of noodles. If you ever get like little bits and chunks of noodles about this long, that means you overcooked it. They got crumbled. But my noodles are still long and stringy. They're cooked just right. So let's put some in our bowl. So there's my bowl of noodles. Now I'm going to scoop in the broth. So first I'm just going to scoop in the broth. It has a rich golden color. You can see right there. What I like to do is do just enough to have soup level that submerges the noodles for sure. Okay, like so. Then I'm going to scoop in the clumps of meat and escargot, like so. And then what we like to do is top it with Vietnamese coriander. Let me show you what that looks like. Here's Vietnamese coriander. I'll bring it closer. It has a very minty fragrance to it. It's absolutely delicious. It's my favorite herb. It's called Vietnamese coriander, and you can't get it anywhere except a Vietnamese market. If you go to a Chinese market, Korean market, you cannot get this. They just don't carry it. So what you do is just gonna break off a few leaves. Just want to thank you for joining Cheese Kitchen today to make minced prawn and crab noodle soup with me, also known as bún riêu. Bon appetit.